I'm Tammy Bruce, and tonight, Joe Biden looks down on the deadly disaster in Afghanistan and declares a job well done.
The extraordinary success of this mission was due to the incredible skill, bravery, and selfless courage of the United States military and our diplomats and intelligence professionals.
Well, we can't deny that the military did as best a job as it could, but an extraordinary success overall. Anyone with eyes can see the chaos that has engulfed Afghanistan in the past 2 weeks. 13 Americans are dead, 20 more injured. Joe Biden has surrendered to the Taliban. Americans have been left behind. Those who assisted us abandoned. There is now a new terrorist safe haven across Afghanistan, and the world is less secure because we are witnessing the absolutely devastating consequences of the president's massive foreign policy failure, his dereliction of duty, his smug rejection to face any accountability, and his utter refusal to admit his mistakes for what is now an undeniable catastrophe and the worst foreign policy failure in modern political history. And how is the Biden team responding to all of this? Not by taking responsibility, not by admitting any of their mistakes, but by blaming others.
My predecessor, the former president, signed an agreement with the Taliban. We reached out 19 times to Americans in Afghanistan with multiple warnings. My predecessor had made a deal with the Taliban. So we were left with a simple decision. Either follow through on the commitment made by the last administration and leave Afghanistan, or say we weren't leaving and commit another tens of thousands more troops.
Boy, none of that is true. And now they are asking the American people to give them credit for their efforts. Take a look at this bizarre tweet from State Department spokesman Ned Price, linking to a Washington Post piece titled, "The State Department deserved more credit for its effort to evacuate Americans from Afghanistan." Really? On the same day the Biden administration abandons Americans and our allies, they want a pat on the back. The equivalent would be the captain of the Titanic demanding praise for having launched half-full lifeboats. Forget about that sinking ship. I launched the most lifeboats in history. And remember, this was all self-inflicted. It did not have to happen this way. Biden was warned what was to come, but decided to double down with his Afghanistan delusion anyway. And the man who ran on empathy is showing none of it, and frankly doesn't even seem to care about the chaos he's created. Over the weekend, during a moving and heart-wrenching ceremony where the remains of our fallen U.S. soldiers were received at Dover Air Base, Joe Biden had the audacity to actually check his watch, not once, but over and over again, as each of the caskets was being transferred in front of him.
That didn't happen just once. That happened on every single one that came out of that airplane. As a father, you know, seeing that and the disrespect, they had them over there and let them down.
I actually leaned into my son's mother's ear and I said, I swear to God, if he checks his watch one more time, and that was only probably 4 times in, I couldn't look at him anymore after that.
That's shocking. 2 new suddenly Gold Star fathers speaking about that experience. So what could possibly be more important than this moment at Dover Air Base? What would he need to check the time on? Why would he do this? Or was he just checking to see how much blood he had left on his hands? In the meantime, here are the people of Jackson, Wyoming, not checking their watches as they salute the family of murdered serviceman Riley McCollum returning home. So let's be clear. Joe Biden caused all of this. This was his reckless withdrawal plan. It was his plan that led to the premature exit from Bagram Air Base, perhaps the most strategic piece of military infrastructure we had in the region. It was where the Taliban freed terrorist prisoners. It was Biden's plan that led to withdrawing our military before civilians, creating what can now be described as a Taliban hostage crisis. And it is his plan that's creating a new terror crisis that led to last week's terror attack in Kabul, killing our 13 heroes. And why did he do it?
Let me be clear. Leaving August the 31st is not due to an arbitrary deadline. It was designed to save American lives.
Well, even there, I think you have a failure. More gaslighting. He did it for the political symbolism, and all because of some disgusting attempt for a September 11th photo op. It did not have to be this way. It certainly did not have to go so wrong. Our brave and selfless American heroes, they deserve so much better than this. They did everything right, They served their country with honor and dignity and were thrown into this quagmire because of Biden's dereliction and Biden's rush to the exits. We cannot and will not let their deaths be in vain. And Biden looking at his watch, now that's the real Joe Biden, not the phony empathizer the media tried to pretend that he was, the real Joe Biden who only looks out for himself, and the real Joe Biden who can't even be bothered to take responsibility for his failures. We have a president who is deteriorating cognitively, who is disconnected from reality, and it is getting worse by the hour. And I'll ask again, where is the accountability? This is a complete and utter failure. What exactly will it take? We have to ask for the Biden administration to finally admit it. Isn't it unconscionable that we live in a world where we all walk on eggshells for fear that something we said or tweeted years ago will destroy our professional careers? But military leadership, the Pentagon, and the president can make such poor decisions that lead to death and destruction, but nothing changes. No one is fired, and no one takes responsibility. And here we are tonight with still more questions than answers. It was Biden that broke his promise that we wouldn't leave until every American was out. And even today, the spinning went into overdrive by Pentagon spokesman John Kirby. He dismisses the fact that we abandoned Americans behind enemy lines this way.
We are no longer on the ground in Afghanistan to facilitate that kind of safe passage. But that doesn't mean that the administration or the government is going to turn a blind eye to trying to help them get home. And it's not unlike we do in other countries around the world when we have Americans that are stranded or need help getting out. We have a lot of tools available to us to help facilitate that passage.
Yeah, Americans stranded. You know, it happens all the time. Lie after lie, failure after failure, deception after deception. The gaslight is burning bright, isn't it? What will it take to actually get some real transparency from the cabal of mediocre, unimpressive, America-hating, extreme socialist ghouls? Ask yourself, has Joe Biden done anything to actually improve the country or to make the world safer or make us more secure? There are no adults in charge. There's no empathy. There's certainly no plan. There's no transparency. The Biden agenda is failing in every corner of the world. Joe Biden is a man who is lost, he is confused, and who is unfit to serve, abandoning Americans in Afghanistan, abandoning our Afghan allies, completely surrendering to the Taliban, creating a new hostage crisis, and turning his back on our brave men and women in uniform. Somehow, the Biden administration found a way to take an absolutely awful situation and make it even worse. Check your watch, Joe, because the time for real accountability is long past due.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.